Jazz Club.
Hello and welcome to Big Wrist Watches. I'm going to talk about the rich history of the Omega Speedmaster X33 today. The X33 is often being overlooked and is undoubtedly overshadowed by its older brother, the Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch. It is looked down upon often because of its quartz movement, but that's where critics are just wrong. It couldn't be anything else than a quartz, and you'll learn why in a little while. Now, furthermore, in many ways, the X33's historical significance is just as big as the Moonwatches, and in this story we're going to touch on why that is. I'm also going to show you some pictures of my own X33, which I'm wearing right now, and which is up for sale at the moment. So yeah, let's immediately address the elephant in the room. Why the hell am I selling my X33 when I'm clearly so excited about its history? Well, I have an important rule to sell any watch I don't wear, and the X33 is a watch that I rarely grab from my grail box. And there is an old Latin saying that goes de gustibus non est disputandum, which means in a matter of tastes there can be no disputes, and rightly so. So let's get on to the X33. The year is 1998, and Omega had been working on a watch that would follow the unmistakably legendary Speedmaster Professional, which was of course made famous by the Apollo 11 crew when they landed on the moon in 1969 wearing Speedmasters. I'm undoubtedly going to do a video on those in the future. Now, the X-33 was launched on March 28, 1998 at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. It was conceived and co-developed by General Tom Stafford, who is a former Apollo X astronaut and who sat on Omega's board at that time. At launch, it was nicknamed the Marswatch, which gives a good indication of NASA's ambitions in the 90s. Now, regretfully though, we now know that the X-33 hasn't quite been able to live up to its name yet, as the potential for a mission to Mars has only recently gotten a new boost thanks to the cooperation between Elon Musk's personal favorite of mine, SpaceX, and NASA. The X-33 was built from scratch using vastly more versatile and accurate quartz technology to offer never-seen functions. One of these, for example, was a mission timer, which keeps the elapsed time since liftoff and which is the official timekeeping method during spaceflight missions. It was developed by pilots and astronauts for pilots and astronauts, which is why it initially received the name Flightmaster instead of Speedmaster Professional. NASA even went so far to send prototypes for field testing and then use the feedback they received to improve on their design. As you probably know, in space every single gram matters. The less rocket fuel you need to burn, the better. Which is why the watch needed to be light, and titanium was the solution to that problem. It's just as strong as steel, but 45% lighter, and an added benefit is that it's also anti-allergenic, more anti-allergenic than steel. The downside, though, is that pure titanium is more difficult and expensive to produce than stainless steel. Now, the X33 was a powerhouse. On top of all the functions it offered, it was also pressure resistant to 3 bars, shock resistant to a whopping 3,500 Gs, and anti-magnetic. Its quartz caliber 1666 movement was accurate to -0.3 to +0.5 seconds a day, and it functioned perfectly from -20 to +70 degrees Celsius. It has a very bright backlight. which stop the second hands from moving to improve readability. And it also, quite notoriously, has an 80 decibel alarm, and I can tell you that thing is loud if you have to wake up to it in the morning. There are two generations of the original X33 called the Gen 1 and Gen 2 respectively. My X33 dates from 1998, the year of the launch, and it's the first generation. The Gen 2 introduced a few changes, such as a brushed instead of a polished bezel, now bidirectional instead of unidirectional. It also has a lume pip instead of the old arrow marker. The pushers were now brushed, and the crown was also changed to a concentric design to make gripping easier. In addition, the caseback was now engraved with the words "Flight Qualified by NASA for Space Missions," which the Generation 1 did not have. Now, the Gen 1 was only produced for about 3 years, according to reports, which arguably makes it the most desirable variant. Of course, all those functionalities and innovations, on top of the material cost, had its price. The X33 was an expensive timepiece, and because of that, it didn't really sell in large numbers. It was consequently retired from the Amiga catalog in 2006, after only 8 years. Now, it was still being offered to NASA after that, but just not sold to the public anymore. In 2014, the new Skywalker X33 was introduced, and it is still being sold today. The X33 is still being used by astronauts to this very day. Go and search Google Images and you'll find loads of pictures of astronauts wearing the X33. For example, Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield wore his X33 on the ISS in 2013. Then there's mission specialist John Harrington, who wore 2 X33s above Space Shuttle Endeavour in 2002. And last but not least, Russian cosmonaut Sergei Zalyotin, who wore his watch on the ISS in 2002 and whose X33 coincidentally sold for $20,000 in 2006, which is probably going to be a lot more if it was sold right now. The list is just endless. Finding a good example of an original X33 isn't a small feat. I've had 3, yes, 3, I am insane. And the second one I had to sell just because of the fact that the bracelet was too short for my big wrist, and 3 additional links would have cost me an arm and a leg. Finding one such as I have right now with a full bracelet is almost impossible. Now, on top of that, it also has its original user manuals and papers and the original missions box. This box is made from astronaut suit fabric, and these boxes fetch insane prices when they are sold separately these days. Now, all in all, this watch is as iconic and legendary as they come, and it's really comfortable on the wrist because of its low weight. It may look like a cheap Casio to most people, but it was really a true feat to get all of this technology in one astronaut's watch. Making this video, I'm feeling reluctant again to selling it, but I'm sure going to regret it, and I guess that's the fate of a lot of watch collectors around the world. I want to thank you very much for listening to my video. If you enjoyed it, as always, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope I can see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.